Hello. Thanks for stopping by and welcome to my channel. My name is Felix and today I'll be doing my own redesign of Alastor from Hazbin Hotel. But with a twist. He will be reimagined as Vietnamese, and in fact, this video will be the first episode of me turning the hotel crew into Viets. Next video will be Angel Dust, and I hope you stick around for more. In fact, there will be a bonus at the end of this video. You must be wondering, why Vietnamese? I'm not gonna bore you with what's said from many redesign videos there are, so I'll keep it simple. We can barely make out what he is, when and where he is, from just by looking at the show's design. Miss Medrano has a lot of questionable design choices, and this is more prominent in Angel Dust design, but why use an English saying for an Italian character? She's only cherry-picking her favorite things to draw and shove it into a character with Alastor's eye-bleeding but boring color palette and his 2000s emo bob haircut. So I thought, if Miss Medrano can do whatever she wants for a design, why not do so too? The pride ring is just America without the white and blue. How about making the pride ring of a country that is actually red? For Alastor's design, I came up with two finished sketches, one for Southerner Alastor and the other would be Northerner. The Southerner design is wearing Albaba, a traditional costume here in the South. Yes, I am a Southern Vietnamese. I designed this version with farmers in mind, but he came out looking too feral, and I didn't want to churn out another brown heavy Alastor, so I continued working on the Northerner design. Plus, it'll work out lore-wise. I gave him deer hind legs to give a nod to the Vortian species from Invader Zim, a show that I heard inspired Hazbin Hotel. And also because I really love Invader Zim and I'm planning to make content of it in the future. His deer parts are still brown because Vietnamese deer usually have brown to black fur. For his outfit, he's wearing a men's ao dai and men's headpiece. The ao dai for men differs from that of women's is their length. They are shorter and the headpiece they wear is also smaller. His ao dai depicts a deer in a jungle with white line art. Since real ao dai sometimes have these sparkly decorations, I figured Alastor would commission his to be decorated with angelic steel. During one extermination event, an angel found him and tried to stab him, but the thick line art deflected the blow and helped him survive that encounter. After that, he considers that specific ao dai his lucky shirt, and would fly off the handle when Serpentius ripped a piece of it out. You will see I changed his jade decoration into a blue snail shell with glowing cracks, and it is related to Vietnamese nifty lore-wise. Well, I don't want to spoil since I'm planning to do a video on her soon enough, so let's just say it's crucial in playing a role of him owning her soul. This design is mainly green because I really like how earthy his color palette is coming off. It also gives off this false sense of safety and friendliness, so Alastor can trick more people into making a deal with him. As our Vietnamese comparison goes, Hình Như Đất. His cane is the last thing to be designed, as you can see in the speed paint. Initially, I didn't plan to make his cane into anything to put the focus onto his ao dai. But after consulting a friend, I got the idea of making an amalgamation of a mic inside of a fawn's skull, a human femur, and a third of a deer's leg, loosely wrapped together with a rope of vine. This design leans heavily onto the concept that it is sentient. It can hop around and speak on its own since it's a head and basically a leg. I imagine it would aid in Alastor's transformation battle of sorts. For his personality, he is stern, he highly values formalities when communicating, and like the original Alastor, he is a gentleman with the ladies. He is a huge patriot, and he can be extreme with his ideals. This Alastor would not be an old-timey break, but rather he prefers to use technology of his time because catching up would be too tiring and confusing for him. He does use modern technology, but only when absolutely necessary, and when he does, it's highly likely made by Vietnamese. He always wears áo dài, or any Vietnamese men's traditional clothing, for his excessive pride and unhealthy patriotism, if that makes any sense, because he views the other types of clothing as quote-unquote inferior Western junk. Vietnamese Alastor still died in the 1930s. I first wanted him to be a propaganda broadcaster, but since Vietnam at the time hadn't gained independence and most of the revolutionary activities happened secretly, I think he'd best be a message decoder of some sorts. And in case it isn't obvious yet, he is a government official and a communist, but his love for his homeland is bigger than that of communism, so that is why he deeply despises the Chinese and a few more nationalities. I think he'd want to put up a sign in front of the hotel that reads, "No Filipinos, no Japanese, no white Americans, no South Koreans, no Thai, no Cambodians, and especially no Chinese." As to why them specifically, you can take a look at these sources as to why Chinese. For Cambodians, it's the Khmer Rouge. Japanese is because of World War II, and the remaining ones are because of the American War. Or Vietnam War for all you silly Americans. Please keep in mind that by writing Vietnamese Alastor, I do not claim to share any of his extremist ideals. This is all for art and fun. How he died stayed relatively the same as in the show. He was still a serial killer and cannibal, but it's more of a gone rogue type of situation, whereas instead of staying in his lane, he actively searched for enemy spies or enemies in general that snuck around his base, killed, later cannibalized them instead of reporting to his superiors. One day, while he was hiding in a jungle, as a group of his own soldiers went by, they were fatigued, hungry, and dizzy, so when they heard him rustling in the bushes, they shot him, mistaking him as their venison dinner. Since he died before Vietnam was independent, he would somehow find a way to have a radio to keep him up to date with Vietnamese news, and would be like a football dad whenever the Viets had a win. I think he most likely made a deal with Vox later on to keep him up to date with modern Vietnamese news as well as Vietnamese television. And with that, we are done with the Vietnamese Radio Demon. Thank you so much for sticking with me until now. Here's the bonus that I promised. This is not a redesign, but rather fan art, cause I've always wanted to draw Rosie in Áo Thư Thân ever since my series has been conceptualized. Áo Thư Thân is our traditional costume for women in the north. We can wear it with a small headpiece like this or a non-white hao, which is a hat that I'm giving to Rosie. To me, Rosie is the least problematic design in the show. The only complaints I have is that there aren't any visual cues to tell us that she's a cannibal overlord. Sure, there's her sharp teeth, but many other non-cannibal characters have them too. She looks like, or even less fancier than, her Cannibal Town residents. I got inspired big time by this picture of a stylized Áo Thư Thân and YouTuber LovesArt23's Rosie's redesign with human organs theming for her look. My favorite takeaway from that video is, why isn't she wearing gloves? She's practically naked! But that doesn't matter here, cause we don't wear gloves with Áo Thư Thân. I wanted to make her look scary and at the same time elegant, so I gave her elaborate big pieces and many accessories made out of human remains like intestine necklaces, teeth ring, teeth earrings, teeth bracelets, and a corset made out of rib bones. She has a total of 4 human skulls as decorations, and those being 1 adult skull on her hat, 2 baby skulls dangling from the rim of her hat, and the remaining one as a knot decoration on her stomach. When designing Alastor's cane, I did consider the option of a human skull, but I figured human skulls are Rosie's thing, so I kept the fawn skull. And finally, the outermost layer of her outfit is patterns of blood vessels. I'm very happy that I added it in. It really tied the whole design together, and I couldn't be more prouder of how Rosie turned out in the end. I haven't rewritten any lore of Rosie because there's nothing in the show. I think I came across a theory saying that the cannibal colony was a village that was starved during harsh times, so they resorted to cannibalism. But even after going through that time, they still continued with their cannibalistic practices. And I guess this could work with Rosie in Vietnam, since Vietnam was a war-torn country in her time, so it wouldn't be so much of a stretch to apply this theory to Vietnamese Rosie. That is the end of this episode of Vietnamese Hazbin Hotel characters. Thank you so much for stopping by and staying till the end. If you had as much fun watching as I did drawing, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss Angel Dust episode. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. See you next time.